On our podcast, Tea with TNT, we talk about like all the things, right? Everything in the news, all the stuff that's going on. And you may better know me as the editor of Blackout Magazine, where our focus is everything LGBTQ, right? So those are typically the things you see me comment on my personal social media. I may make posts about whatever's going on in the news and my thoughts. But I felt drawn. Um, I felt led to say something about the situation that happened with Michael B. Jordan and at the BAFTA Awards. First, I'd like to say, like, no occasion is a excuse or a time to make fun of anybody. Certainly not to make fun of people who are living with disabilities. That is a hard, hard life, full of oppression and lack of access and difficulty and struggle and trauma and all of the things. And even something as horrendous as this is not an opportunity to make fun of people. And I would never diminish or dismiss anyone's disability. I have no idea what people face, and I can't tell you what is in people's heart. What I can tell you is, unfortunately, that word does live in all of our vocabularies, thanks to a violent and horrific history of Black Americans in this country and Black and brown folks around the world. So we all know what it means. Most of us know where it comes from. So if a neurological disorder pulls at the most controversial of things and expresses itself as a tic, I don't know if that's terribly surprising. And I think a lot of these conversations go left with the but instead of an and, because as we know, anything before the but negates it. It's an and. I think that Black folks in this country have been asked and expected to turn the other cheek and to absorb hurt and harm for whatever reason, for the sake of the cause, for the sake of the movement on our own side, for the sake of the country, for the sake of morale, for the sake of getting along to get along, for the sake of keeping our jobs, protecting our families, getting that degree, for success, to make it in corporate life, to be able to maintain our homes and our safety for our families and our children in neighborhoods. And it's not okay. This Black History Month, I think that that's what really propelled me to feel like I needed to say something, is this has been a hell of a Black History Month. Of all the times, of all the things at all the times. Sinners was almost a religious experience for me, not in the way that I associated with Christianity, but it really aligned with my own deconstruction of my own Christianity and connecting back to my roots. It came at the perfect time where I was really already working my way down that path. If you could see the bookshelf behind me, you would see books about hoodoo and learning more about root work and just sinking into and connecting to ancestors and where we come from and how those things have been corroded and eaten up and spit out by an American culture that loves it but doesn't love us. And so Sinners was such a profound piece of art, piece of history. The amazing awards that it's winning are so well deserved. BAFTA being one. I hate that this thing took away from that incredible moment for that team of individuals. But for that thing to happen in that moment, and so many people, like, you got to look and see where your defensiveness lives. Anything that triggers you, gets you riled up, it comes from something, which is usually about you and not other people. But if the first thing we do is have an expectation of a harmed party to be the bigger person, to turn the other cheek, to understand when our explanations and understanding dismisses one set of people's harm for another. We went left. We went wrong. We missed it. They missed it. There's been claims that, these outbursts happened throughout the evening, that it happened to several other people on that team. BAFTA should have done better, from my understanding, which I don't think has been widely publicized. There was like a message. There was someone came out on the stage and talked about the fact that they may hear this individual in the audience having tics, and that he had been struggling with the night, probably because he was nervous about being there or excited about being there. I'm sure that amplifies the reaction. But there's also been claims that other things have been removed. And BAFTA, I've done my research now. Couldn't have told you anything about it 3 days ago, but now I know that they have a pretty storied past of having some relatively racist activities. I want to say either 2 or 3 years ago, they nominated no one of color, no Black folks. So that made this night even more special for the cast of Sinners, I can only imagine. And all the people in the audience and watching that it represented. And we have to be able to hold space for two things at the same time. Two things can be true at the same time. This gentleman could have not been able to control the things that were happening to him. It could be completely unintentional. And two people were caused great harm directly, and a community that has bore the brunt of the hurt that comes with that word, which I don't know that any other such words exist, that carry so much pain and violence against the community. Matter of fact, it's interesting. The only other word I can think of is another N-word. But even that, I think, is used even more flippantly and doesn't carry the burden of oppression and pain in the same way. And that could be because of my own experience attached to that and my heritage. So I guess that's up for debate. But we know how much pain and violence that word carries. We know how much blood that word spilled. We know how that has been the rallying cry of the oppression of Black folks for generations and generations and generations. So I hate that now it is semi-regular that other cultures use it colloquially. And we do, but I think we've earned that right. But that's a whole other conversation. And Michael B. Jordan are incredibly talented and very wealthy, and very famous and doing very well for themselves. Words like that and situations like this transcend all of the money in the world, and fame and stardom. The pain that comes with that word travels through our bloods and through our bloodline for generations. And I am so sorry that they experienced that in that moment. I've also seen folks from the Black community in the UK being like, yeah, the Americans are going to get you now because they don't let anything slide. And that was an interesting reaction for me to hear because, one, they don't usually speak very highly of us. But as much as we are criticized and undermined as a community of Black Americans, we still carry the gold standard of what it is to fight back and to stand in our culture and the incredible, beautiful things that Black Americans have brought to this world. So that's a collection of random thoughts, but I'm sorry to the people that were hurt. And a genuine apology goes a long way. I can do something with no intention of causing harm and understand the harm that it caused and be genuinely apologetic and sorry. And I think Black people, above anyone else, understand those real apologies. And it would have been nice to have heard one received to our community and to those gentlemen that night.